ask myself the question, what happened to us? When Sizewell opened in 1966, it was the 8th reactor that this country had built in just 7 years. Why have we never got back to that kind of rhythm? Have we lost the gumption and dynamism of our parents and grandparents? It gets worse. When Sizewell B, fantastic white dome, was completed in 1995, it was the 5th reactor in 7 years. Now, remember, 1995, an era that was technologically so primitive that people used to use things called car phones and went down to Blockbusters to rent VHS videos. Think of the colossal technical progress in other areas and contrast the paralysis in British nuclear energy. How many new nuclear power stations have we built in the 27 years since? How many have been connected to the grid? How many slices of bread can we toast with the additional nuclear power we've created? How many washing machines can we power? How many families have been helped with extra nuclear energy? The answer is none. Zero. Zilch. The French, who have loads of nuclear power stations already, have built 4 more since 1995, bringing their total reactor fleet up to about 56. The Indians have added about 12. The Chinese have built more than 50 additional nuclear reactors since 1995. And you know why we failed? It's not even as though we have some cultural aversion to nuclear power. I mean, I just met those nice protesters outside. It wasn't kind of Atomkraft Nein Danke. There wasn't some lefty thing. They seem to be objecting to the disruption to the roads. It's pure NIMBYism out there. That's not the issue. I will diagnose the problem. It's called myopia. It's called short-termism. It's a chronic case of politicians not being able to see beyond the political cycle. For 13 years, the previous Labour government did absolutely nothing to develop this country's nuclear industry. They said it didn't make economic sense. I think they even said that in their manifesto. Well, thanks a bunch, Tony, and thanks a bunch, Gordon. Tell that to British businesses and industries that are now desperately short of affordable and reliable electricity. Tell that to families that are struggling with the cost of heat and light this winter. And they're not the only culprits, because in the run-up to the 2010 election, as you'll have seen, famous video on YouTube now, Nick Clegg, the then leader of the Liberal Democrats, now some kind of tech lobbyist in California, I understand, said that the UK shouldn't build more nuclear power stations like Sizewell C. And he didn't say it was unsafe. He didn't have what he called a theological objection. He said that the problem was that it wouldn't even be completed. No point starting it, he said, because it wouldn't even be completed until, guess when? 2021 or 2022. So, gee, thanks, Nick. And it's because of that kind of myopia that here in the country that first split the atom, we have only 15% of our energy from nuclear and of our electricity from nuclear, and it is falling. Whereas in France it is at 70%, and we ask ourselves why France is more self-reliant than ourselves when it comes to energy, and why they find it relatively easier to hold down costs. Yes, nuclear always looks, when you begin, it always looks relatively expensive to build and to run. But it is, look at what's happening today. Look at the results of Putin's war. It is certainly cheap by comparison with hydrocarbons today. In fact, if Hinkley Point C were already running this year, it's been delayed for ages and ages, of course, it would be cutting fuel bills by £3 billion. I'll say it again. If Hinkley Point C were running now, it would be cutting our national fuel bills by £3 billion. So you have to look ahead and you have to beware of the false economy. If you have an old kettle that takes ages to boil, it may cost you £20 to replace it. But if you get a new one, you'll save £10 a year for every year on your £10 a year every year on your electricity bill. And I remember when the government finally did the deal on Hinkley C. In fact, I think I was already sitting in the cabinet, and I remember some people protesting then about the strike price that we did, £92.50 per megawatt hour, per kilowatt hour. It was very, very expensive. But it doesn't look very expensive today. That's why we need to pull our national finger out and get on with Sizewell C. That's why we're putting £700 million into the deal, just part of the £1.7 billion of government funding available for developing a large-scale nuclear project to final investment stage, FID, in this Parliament. And in the course of the next few weeks, I am absolutely confident that it will get over the line. And we will get it over the line because it would be absolute madness not to.